Hello and welcome to our latest edition of West Coast XC. I am your host, Ken Martinez. If you're watching this episode, then you're watching it on YouTube. And if you would please subscribe, that would be fantastic. If you're listening to this episode, you're probably listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please follow. That would be so fantastic. We're getting some followers and subscribers now that we're starting season 3. This is episode 2. As we preview the West Coast. Last week we previewed Oregon with Thor Espenson. You can go to last week's episode and get a preview of athletes to look for and also teams. And this week we'll be focusing on Southern California with our friend Coach Ken Reeves. He's no longer coaching, he's retired. He was a big-time legendary coach at Nordhoff High School in Ojai and Foothill Technology in Ventura, and is very involved with the sport as he announces meets and also helps work at meets. I see him working the starting line at Mount Sac Cross Country Invitational in October, and he's also working the awards area at the state meet. So if you're in California, you made it to the awards stand in the top 10, or your team made it in the top 3, you more than likely met Ken. And he's also involved because he's in a movie, at least he thinks his voice is. You'll hear more about it. He's been involved as an advisor for a Apple movie that's coming out about a high school track runner. So you'll hear more about how that's going. It's pretty interesting. And next week we'll talk about Northern California. And then the following week we'll talk about Washington. Washington starts their season the latest of all 3 states. And so it's like a 4-part series of previews. Oregon last week, SoCal this week, NoCal the following week, and then Washington. Now we have this conundrum of Central section, and Ken will cover the boys today in this episode, and then next week in the Northern California episode, we will cover the girls. And so if you don't see the girls in the Central section being covered, that's because we're going to do it next week. So hang in there. And we're starting the season. I saw that on Instagram. I saw that certain sections in California had started having meets last weekend. Today, as I'm recording this, Washington is starting their season. Oregon is now in their 2nd week, and they will start competing later on this week. I will be at a meet called the Opener in Monmouth, Oregon. That's the site of Western Oregon University. And I'll take pictures of the Opener meet. It's the first meet of the season. My wife's going to go to Grant High School and take pictures of the Good Evening meet. And that is going to be at Grant High School. It's going to follow the same format as the night meet, which is not happening this year due to a construction at the school at Wilsonville. So when those meets conclude, please come to our website at West Coast XC, check out our Instagram post, and we'll get those photos up as soon as possible over the weekend, as athletes will be out there racing on Friday night in Oregon, at least the northern part of Oregon where I can get to them. And so look for those. Looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to talking to Ken Reeves about athletes we should look for in Southern California. We're going to head over right now and talk to Ken. Hey, we're happy to have Ken Reeves back on. Hey, Coach.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have you on to preview the Southern California top returners. Before we get into that, we have been talking to you the last few months about the movie that you're involved in that's being produced by Amazon, about the high school boy trying to break the 4-minute barrier. And how is that movie going?
Well, first of all, I got to clarify it's Apple and Nike, not Amazon.
Apologize to Apple and Nike.
Okay.
Not Amazon, Apple. Okay.
Okay. It's finishing up filming the state meet at Mount Sac this week. So it's been a great experience as far as that. The director has this crazy vision. Some of the stuff that you see him come up with, it's just amazing to me. And then the cinematographer, the same thing. It's a whole new world for me. And it's really interesting to see them put together pieces. And I have a whole lot more respect for the actors because I was the announcer last week in the press box. And I would use my analogy as it's kind of like going into the first marathon where you think you're going to run this time, and the marathon humbles you. And it was like running the first marathon
Um,
because announcing on a movie is different. It took me 3 hours to announce the 4 minute race. So good education, um, and lots of lots of Southern California people in it. Brian Fitzgerald is a meet official, the old
mm,
sprint legend at Rio Mesa.
mm.
Doug Todd, the old Mount Sac coach, is a meet official. All kinds of Southern California people in there, so it's really fun to see, and
Okay. And now, do you have a SAG card now? Do you have an Actors Guild card?
I don't think so.
Okay, but you might be on IMDb eventually when
Yeah,
this movie comes out. And then
yeah.
it's going to be in
Go ahead.
post-production and it'll come out sometime. We'll have to have you back on for that as our guest so we can promote that movie when it comes out. We got to support running movies.
Yeah, well, it's they're trying. It's Hollywood, so it's not going to be quite track and field as we know it, but it's going to be as close as Hollywood can get you to it. And it's
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I'm a high school teacher and I watch movies set in high school, and there are some movies you're like, oh my God, that would never happen. But there's
yeah,
some movies that get close, and I would say McFarlane was very good. It was very, very
yeah,
close. There are some, if you are a cross country runner or coach, you saw some things and went, no, it didn't happen, but it didn't affect me at all. I really enjoy that movie. I was subbing, and they showed McFarlane. And I told him I had met Coach White, and I'd met the
yeah,
Diaz kids. They run for McFarlane. I met the Diaz kids. They helped
yeah,
coach, and they were just like, whoa. And I watched it with them, and I hadn't watched it in a while, and uh, it's pretty good. So McFarlane does a really nice job. It's a really good movie. So I'm expecting it'll probably be the same. I'm sure there'll be some things you're like, dramatic license, but I'm sure you've got some good people there, and it'll be an outstanding movie done by Apple and Nike. I'm gonna get that
yes.
right.
And the guy that's playing the lead I'm really, really, really impressed with him. He wasn't a runner coming in, and he's worked very hard to understand the sport. He's a Brit, so he and I have been talking about Josh Kerr, all kinds of stuff. He brings
Mm.
video in, and he has great insight now of what it would be to be doing that stuff. I'm very impressed with his dedication to the task, just like the director is dedicating to making this as realistic as possible. Gavin O'Connor is doing a tremendous job.
Okay. All
Very
right.
impressed with that.
So it takes a while for it to get, you know, edited and such. So we'll keep an eye on when that comes out, and we'll have you on for that for sure to get some
Yeah.
insight about the movie when it comes out.
I
And
think post production goes through March.
okay.
So so it'll probably be late next year.
Okay.
Trying to get it out before the Olympics. So
Oh,
to
that'd
the
be,
best of my knowledge.
yeah. Okay. We'll keep an eye on that. And we're going to keep an eye on some returners that are coming to Southern California. And we're including LA Central City section and San Diego section. And at the end, we're going to do a little bit of a central section, which we know is not in Southern California, but it kind of gets lost in between NorCal and SoCal. So we want to do a little shout out to our central section athletes too, towards the end. And we are talking about the kids that we think are coming back that were really top runners last year. We may not know very much about the eighth graders. Are they going to be ninth graders? Always there's ninth graders that, especially girls, although we had some pretty good boys this year. We had, our friend Sterling White of Oaks Christian really impressed.
Yes.
But may not know very much about them. And so we apologize if we don't talk about you. We may have kids that are injured and are not ready to run cross country. So we're just going to do the best we can with who we know. And they may have transferred. That happens a lot in Southern California. We may not know that either, but we're talking about them as people. And let's start with the ladies first. Who are some ladies that we should look for?
All right. First of all, I'd start with Camila Salim of West Torrance. It's going to be a senior. West Torrance is a D3 school. She ran 17:31 at state last year. Uh, and ran 2:11, 4:47 in track, 10:34. Last year, she was third in Southern Section and fourth in the state in Division III. And she finished her season. She ran a 10:23.84 steeple at UCSD Invitational to win that. Um, so abbreviated high school season, but if she's running, she's going to be one of the people to look at.
Yeah, I watched her at Nike Outdoor Nationals in the steeple, and she won that too, and won it handily. She's very fit and had a great cross country season.
Okay. Next, I would talk about would be Addison Johns in Santiago. She's going to be a sophomore. That's a D1 school. She ran 17:43 at state. She was third in Southern Section and 10th in the state in Division One. In track, 2:15.5 flat. Um, she was third in Division One, fourth in the Masters, and a state qualifier on 32. She ran 10:32 there, and she's a member of the state champion 4x8 team.
Hmm.
So sophomore from Santiago, they do a great job of developing runners there.
You know, she didn't run for the 4x8 team. She ran the 3200.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And
My
um, and that's the reason why she probably would have run the 4x8 if the 3200 wasn't like right next to each other.
okay. Next up, I would talk about Carol Dye of Santa Margarita. She's a Division III athlete, was a SOP athlete, sit out period athlete last year because she transferred. But she ran 17:22 at state, um, and was first in Division III in the Southern Section, third in the state, and she was a Brooks National qualifier. Brooks is the former Foot Locker, former
Mhm.
Kinney. Okay. In track, 2:18, 4:51, so improved during that time. She was second in D3, eighth in the Masters meet, and a state qualifier in the 1600 for state. Um, Isabella Ruiz of Ontario, she's a D1 athlete. She only ran 18:27 at state, but improved drastically in track. She
She
was
did.
10th in Division Two Southern Section. She was the Mount Baldy League champion, and Ontario's turned out some very good individuals in recent times. She dropped to 2:14 and 4:56 in track. Um, she was 10:18 in the 32. She
Hmm.
was seventh in the state in the 32. So I would expect her to be continuing to move up there
Yeah,
because
she
the Ontario.
she's like about
Go ahead.
almost a minute behind the other girls you have listed in the at Woodward Park, and she has improved a ton this last spring. So will be formidable.
Yeah. 10:18.
So is your next person on your list. She had a really good track season.
Isla Terrell of Monrovia, another D3. She's a junior. She ran 18 flat at state. She was sixth in Division III, Southern Section, 14th in the state. But in track, she ran 2:09 and 4:47.
Hmm.
Okay. So she was eighth in the Masters meet in the eight and seventh in the state in the 16. So tremendous improvement there. Uh, Next girl, the Division Five girl, from the San Diego section, Elena Patterson. She ran 17:17 at state, so she's
Wow.
the fastest girl on my list here today. She was first in Division Five, San Diego second section, third in the state, and third at Brooks Western Regionals to qualify for nationals there. And then at track, 4:53, 10:10.
Hmm.
She was third in Division Three, San Diego section, and second in the 16, second in the 32, and she was third in the state in the 32. Okay, she's going to be a senior, Division 5, but one of those people that might be knocking on one of those NXN
Right.
spots.
Yes, absolutely. And in Oregon, if you're in the smallest division, it's going to be really impossible for you to make the time because it's just not competitive. But in California, she might have a couple of kids around her, and she might use that as a way to get a faster time and make it as an NXN individual.
Yeah, well, she ran
Or
17.7.
coach, she loves San Diego and does Brooks instead.
Yeah, a la Miss Daly.
Yep.
Maya Pavlovic of J. Sarah is just a sophomore, and J. Sarah just keeps having freshman girls come in year after year. They do a good job of developing them. She ran 17:37 at state. She was second in Southern Section D4, seventh in the state, and she was a member of the NXN team. And if I'm not mistaken, they're four-time defending state champion in D4,
That's right.
and usually are head and shoulders. They run in the big kids race on Saturday at the Clovis Invitational and are in the hunt every year.
Mhm.
She ran 2:11.450 on the track. She was fourth in Division 4 in the 16, seventh in the 8, and she was a state qualifier in the 16. At Westlake, you have the Cruz twins. The top one last year in cross was Sabina Cruz, but um, Nias is usually right there with her.
I think maybe
They're going
might
to be
argue had a slightly stronger cross track season than her sister. So it's almost like number nine is 9.5. There's two people at number nine.
right. And I announced their league finals last year. They were lockstep.
Hmm.
They were just together the whole way. Um, Same thing. I called their league meets in track season and their league finals there. They were right there with each other. They're both going to be sophomores. Give you the stats for Sabina because she had a little bit better state meet. She was
Hmm.
17:39 at state, 2:18, um, 4:58, 10:34. In cross, she was sixth in Southern Section, ninth in the state. In in track, she was sixth in the Masters meet and a state qualifier in the 3,200 meter. And statewide for Westlake, they're going from Division 2 to Division 3. So they're
Okay.
moving down a division. Um, Meanwhile, El Toro, which we'll hit with teams a little bit later, is moving back up to Division 2.
Okay.
Probably the top girl out of the LA City section might be Hudson Song of Taft. She's scheduled to be a junior D1. Um, she was second in the LA section 32 and a state qualifier. I mean, city section always has newcomers hopping in.
Sure.
So we'll have to wait and see on that. And then another on the list here, I would go with Brooklyn Tennant of J. Sarah. Uh, Another sophomore, Division 4, 17:43 at state. She was third in Division 4, 10th in the state, part of the NXN team. Track 2:19.458. Masters meet qualifier in the 32, where she ran 10:46. And Jay Sarah just seems to have replaceable parts.
Yeah.
You know,
And there's probably two freshman girls in that top seven that we don't know about.
yeah. Well,
Just like
in
because Brooklyn and Maya were freshmen that I didn't know who they were, and they were helpful to their top seven, top five.
Yeah, I always think coming into a new season, the love needs to go to the sophomores, juniors, and
Okay,
seniors
we're giving it to them.
because hey, they've gone through the first season,
Yep.
and
Right.
freshmen, always in the girls, there's going to be people up there that are contending for, you
Yep.
know, all state spots, etc.
Coach, I'd like to add another name to the list here. Another J. Sarah athlete that shows the depth of J. Sarah is Reese Hawley, who ran 17:57 at Woodward Park at the state meet last year. And then in the springtime, had this great season 2:07.48 in the 800, 4:45.23 in the 800. She qualified in the 8, in the 16, and the 4x8 in for the state meet, but chose to run the 800 and just the 4x8 at the state meet. So another athlete to consider is Reese Hawley of J. Sarah. So we got the individuals. Who are some handful of teams that we should look for in the girls, not just in each division, but just like overall? If we did the merge,
Oh,
what's the merge, you think?
okay. Well, I would say Jay Sarah is going to be right in the mix. Miracosta, uh, they return what? One, two, three, four, four girls at sub 19, another at 1925.
Mhm.
They've improved in track. Their coach, Renee Smith, is tremendous. Miracosta continues to improve. They're a D1 school. They will definitely be in the hunt.
Mhm.
Jay Sarah, they're the who's who of who's coming back in Division 4. I mean, they have, without anybody coming in, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight girls that are 1901 or faster at
Wow.
Woodward Park. And, one of those girls didn't run track, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But they're going to be loaded. They do a great job of coaching there. El Toro was Division 3 last year. They won Division 2 in 24. They won Division 3 in 25. They return, I think they're top seven. One, two, I'm just counting here, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, they return their top seven runners from last year. And Ken Chai does a great job of coaching there. I'm sure the Division 3 people are glad they're back up to Division 2. Division 2 people may not be as excited. Um, and then Great Oak just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Their top four were freshmen or sophomores last year. They all return. They returned six that are 19, 17 at Clovis or under. And Westlake with the Cruz twins up at the
Right.
front end.
Those sticks.
They were just off the podium last year. They've moved down a division, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier,
No, it's tough in every division.
but I mean, they're they're definitely going to be in the hunt, well coached, um, you know, from people that you knew when you were down here coaching in Southern California, and does a great job in the summer. So I expect Westlake to be in the hunt. And then another Division 3 school with Carol Dye at the front end is Santa Margarita.
They have two low stick runners too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they have, Dye at 1722 and Colston at 1744. Um, they'll have to develop a little bit at the back end,
Yeah.
but Marty Dugard is one of the guys that coaches there. He's done a great job of coaching forever. So Santa Margarita will certainly continue to improve.
All
Those
right.
are those are the teams I have at this time. Didn't You're going to have the Central Catholic of San Diego in the hunt. You're going to have
Yeah.
Torrey Pines. Those schools are traditional
Hmm.
of just being big time schools.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's head over to the boys. And there's a number of kids from where I grew up that are in your top 10, which is not a favoritism by any part from us Ventura County guys, but just the indication that how strong that county is. But let's go through us the kids that you boys that we should look for in the fall.
Aiden Antonio of Woodbridge, I would say, is the guy coming in. He's the Maximo Zabaleta this year coming in, I would say.
Hmm.
You know, doesn't mean anything until we're in November, but he's a senior. I think there'll be Division Two. I didn't check all the boys teams. Those just came out in Southern Section this Friday, I think. He ran 1850 at state. He ran 403 for second in the state on the track.
1450.
Pardon?
1450.
Yeah. Did I say something else?
You said
I could have.
1850. 1450.
Well, 1850, he's not making it.
No,
Sorry.
we're going to go over the best JV runners. 1450.
1450. Yeah. I don't think he 1850 would make the best JV run, but
You're right.
he ran 403 and 855 in track. He was first in Southern Section D2 in just a great race where five guys were in the hunt until they got on the track at Mount Sac. He was third in state. He was NXN individual qualifier this year, and the year before he was a footlocker national qualifier. In track, he was second in Masters, second in the state in 16. He was first in the Masters in the 32, but opted out and just focused on the 16. 403, I guess he focused pretty well.
Yeah, that's really fast.
Yeah. Mario Montoya was the fastest sophomore last year. He's from Redondo Union, D1 school. He ran 1458 at state. He was fourth in Division One in Southern Section, fifth in the state. His team made NXN in track. He was 409, 851, and fourth in the state in the 32. I think he has the all-time sophomore record at Woodward Park, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, so had had a great season. Now he's moving to junior, Redondo Union. Bob Leach does a great job of coaching there.
Hmm.
So I would expect them to be, they were great out of the gun at the beginning of the season, kind of laid low in the middle, and then came on like gangbusters at the
They
state meet.
did. They did.
Yeah. Michael Scarintz, South Pasadena, Division Three. He's a senior now. Seems like he's been running for about 8 years. Um, 1458 at state. He was second D3, fifth at the state. Track 408, 853. That was a PR at the state meet. So he was third in Division 3, 16. He was Division 3, 32 champ. And then at state, great race to finish second. He always seems to come up in the bigger races and competes very well. Uh, Next up, Sterling White, just a freshman last year, sophomore now, Oak Christian. Uh, Again, another place where they develop runners very well, especially with elite guys. Uh, Wes Smith is the coach there, does a great job. He just ran 1520 at state, so he's quote unquote a slow guy on here, but that means he ran 1520 as a freshman.
Right.
And then he ran in track 157, 415, 859. So
Yeah.
he was fourth in the Southern Section, D4 in track, ninth in the state as a freshman. I'm remembering he's the only freshman medal I gave out at the state meet in the top 10. Um, he was fourth in Division 4 in the 32, but he was eighth in the state. He was a fifth freshman in the 16 in the United States and a third freshman in the United States in the 32. And he was the fastest freshman in both in the state of California. So
I saw him at Brooks PR and I congratulated him. You made a prediction of four freshmen that you didn't necessarily say would make the state meet, but we should keep an eye on when we started the rounds of prelims and finals and masters. And you gave us four names: the young lady from Long Beach Poly and the twins from Westlake, and you mentioned Sterling at Oaks Christian. And Coach, you were in Europe, so high five you, but all four of those freshmen made the state meet, including Sterling. And I told him about that. He knew about the prediction. He watches this. Hi, Sterling. And he told me he loves Ken Reeves.
Yeah. Sterling did a great job. I got to call his very first high school race last year when they did a, a 2 mile postal at Rio Mesa. I think he ran like 9:27 then.
Hmm.
And interesting thing about Sterling is he goes to Oak Christian. His dad is a head coach at
Yeah,
Oak Park, which is a crazy good program. And,
right.
you know, dad looking out for his kid. So,
Yeah, and I Sterling invited me to his practice, and Coach Smith was on vacation, so it was really like the kids were putting on the practice, and Sterling was for a freshman. He's just really very mature. As going into my sophomore year, I couldn't have invited some adult to come to my practice and communicate and explain what we're doing and make sure he emailed me all the information I needed to know to get to the practice. He was awesome, Sterling. Thank you for inviting me. All right, who else is on your list?
Mateus Dos Santos, San Clemente. He's going to be a senior. He's not another one of those guys that has a great coach.
Hmm.
Tim Butler is an assistant there and does the distance stuff very well. Uh, Mateus was 15:03 at state, but in track he ran 151 and 411. In cross, he was third in Division 1 at Southern Section, seventh at the state, and he was NXN team qualifier.
Yeah, I want to
Uh,
say a shout out to San Clemente. They had the team make it with a bunch of seniors, and then the next year there's kind of a little bit of a rebuild, and then 2 years later, I mean, the next year they're back with a whole new lineup. It's very impressive when a team can do that. Obviously, there's a lot of coaching involved there, so congratulations, San Clemente.
you know, Tim Butler is the old Dana Hills coach
Right.
before that, so he's had him rolling for quite a while, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's going into the CIF Southern Section Hall of Fame this year.
Well
So
deserved.
well deserved for Tim.
Yeah.
All right. Dennis was second in D1 800, fourth at the Masters, and he made the finals at state. So,
Yeah.
and moving on to possibly the top San Diego guy, Jackson Norcutt of Mount Carmel. Okay. D2 school, he ran 15:01 at state. He was a Brooks national qualifier. Um, and in track, he ran 157, 412, and 855. He won the San Diego D2 title in the 16. He won the Masters at San Diego in the 32, and he was fifth at state in the 32. Every time I've seen him race, he just competes. It's
He does.
really, really fun to watch him race. You know, there's some guys that'll sit and kick, and there's other guys that'll just grind. And Jackson always puts himself, from my point of view, in the hunt.
Hmm.
Moving to the city for a quick look, Ethan Funk of Palisades. And again, Palisades does a great job of
They do.
developing runners in the city. And especially difficult at Palisades since their entire school burnt down
Right.
during the fire last year, the year before. Um, so they're in portables, etc. Bunk is a junior D1 guy. He ran 15:46 at state. He was fourth in the LA City section D1 uh, cross, and he was second in the LA City section in 32, and he was a state qualifier. In the LA City section isn't necessarily as deep as the southern section in distance races, and simple math tells you they have 1/4 of the schools, but Palisades keeps turning out guys.
Yeah, they had a young man. I think he made the final of the 1600 at the state meet, I think he did. I'm pretty sure. And every year there's always a dolphin from Pacific Palisades in the state meet, as we all know, not easy to make when there's no divisions, and there's
Yeah.
always a distance boy trying to either get into the final in the 16 or is in the Friday prelims, which is in itself incredibly impressive. So, you
Well,
know,
yeah, there was a Palisades guy that went 408 at prelims and made the finals. I remember
yeah, he
that.
did make the finals. Yes,
And then, Sigworth of uh, Palos Verdes was a
yes,
Palisades guy until the fire, and
yeah,
then moved over to, and he was a state qualifier, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. So you have that could have been like a pretty incredible cross country team. So it's very
Yeah,
unfortunate for the fire.
and, and Palisades was maybe sixth in the merge a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
One of the highest finishes by a city program ever.
yeah, they were legit.
Yeah. Next up, Adrian Cantu, well-known name in Southern Section.
Yep.
Cantus have been cranking for a long time. Adrian is at Saugus. He's a senior. They're D2. He ran 15:54 at state, and he was one of those guys in the mix with Antonio in the Southern Section finals, where there's 7 or 8 guys that came on the track together,
Hmm.
and he ends up third in the Southern Section, fifth in the state. He runs 155 and 411 in track. I see him as possibly a better cross guy than a track guy, so could be exciting to
Yeah.
see what happens. Um, Next up, uh, senior now from Rio Mesa, Derek Luna. He ran 14:59 at state, uh, and was fourth in the Southern Section. One of those guys that came on the track and was right at the front the whole time. He
Hmm.
was eighth in the state meet, and then in track he ran 4:12 and 8:59. He was first in Division Two in the 32, 12th in the state in the 32. Um, One of those great student athletes. He's involved with uh, mock cord. He's in state qualifier in the science fair, you know, and just started running. Never ran cross country as a freshman, so this is his third cross country
Wow.
season. Been working hard in the summer. I've seen him at a couple workouts. I've been pretty impressed with him. We'll see. He's he's working on his kick, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Next up is another Ventura guy, Vigo Bordelin from Foothill Technology. He's senior, fourth year, Division Four guy. Ran 15:16 at state. He was third in Division Four, seventh at the state. Uh, 158, 417, 907 in track. He was fifth in uh, Division Four in the 16. Also ran in Foothill Technologies 4x8 team that made the Masters meet. And again, lives about a block and a half from me, so I get to see him working out all the time. He's been cranking all summer. We'll see what happens with Vigo. Division 5 guy, Jack Ritter, Viewpoint, senior now. Always been their number 2 guy. He'll be a number 1 guy now. Uh, Division 5, 15:23 at state. He's third in Southern Section D5, fifth in the state meet. On the track, 419, 916. He was fifth in Division 4 in the 32. And Viewpoint's another place where they just keep on
Yeah.
rebuilding. You know, they don't necessarily rebuild, they just keep reloading, kind of like the San Clemente
Yeah.
Viewpoint. And one other guy I threw in there had a really good track season. Wasn't spectacular in cross country.
Yes.
And it's kind of funny to be talking about a 15:46 guy at
Hmm.
Woodward Park as not being spectacular, because back in the day that was a state medalist.
Yep.
Anyway, Kingsley Lin of Santa Monica, senior Division One. In track, he ran 157, not crazy fast, 417, not crazy fast, 859.
Crazy
State
fast.
qualifier in the 32.
Yeah.
Um, and just kind of maybe he'll be on the radar here as
Yeah.
far as that.
Yeah, it's the boys I was a boy that did the same thing. I had a okay senior season, but I had a really good track season. You just get physically stronger, gain more confidence, and he's obviously done that during track season. Go Samo High, and let's talk about some teams we should look for in the southern section.
Okay. Before going there, it's also you're going to have all kinds of sophomores that are making the big jump as they go from, you know,
Yes.
developing. So there'll be all kinds of surprises in there. And that's always and you'll see the seniors that put in the big summers. That's always a fun part
Yeah.
of the beginning of the track and field season.
Yeah, we talked about incoming freshman girls that we don't know who are going to be there. That's the other thing is we had some really good sophomore boys that were good freshmen, but they weren't like in the top maybe 20 of returners because they're, 14 years old. And so
Yeah.
you will see some more sophomores and even juniors, just people they kind of figure this out and then physically just get stronger. So those growth spurts, coach, or something else. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was a 4'11", 79-pound freshman, so I understand that.
me too. When I'm teaching in class, I taught freshmen a lot. I was a freshman teacher and I look like I could be a power forward now, or at least play tight end or something.
Yeah.
And I tell them because I know this because my sophomore permit was my license for the next 8 years in California. It said like for as was a sophomore, it was like 5'4", 120, and I was even smaller as a freshman. And then I just it just kept growing, and I got faster and stronger. So that's what happens to guys; they just keep maturing.
All right. So teams, Redondo, defending Division One state champion after, coming on strong at the state meet. NXN qualifier, they return their top two, which is 1457, 1507.
Both
Um,
sophomores. This is an example of we could have another low stick sophomores we don't know about.
yeah. And
They
then
were
there,
sophomores last year.
Andrew Elder, 154, 418, and it was on the 4x8 that took fourth. He ran 1649, but I imagine he's going to come out with that 154, 418.
Hmm.
Um, they return, you know, six guys that are maybe seven guys that ran on their team last year. So they'll be right there, at different times, not all at the state meet, etc. But pretty good stuff there for Redondo. San Clemente, they just find a way to get better and better. They return a 1459, 1503,
Wow.
1529,
Wow.
1530, 1535,
Wow.
1542,
Wow.
1604.
I
Okay.
just did an interview with the Oregon coach, and the Northwest. There are three really good Oregon schools and a really good school in Idaho, and possibly a pretty strong returning Washington school. And I was thinking, hey, the Northwest might get an at large, but I don't know. It's going to be hard if California is going to be deep like you. I mean, gee whiz, that's fast.
And they were second to Redondo by 7 points last year, but their number five scorer was 45th overall last year. And
Hmm.
they're all coming back,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, those are two
and
NXN teams that could repeat if they run just normal races and everybody's healthy.
and and they have a great coach. So I'm not surprised by any development there.
Hmm.
Crescenta Valley, another program, with the Evans family, father
Yep.
and son coaching team, and Crescenta Valley's always in the mix. They return three guys that are sub 16 and two guys that are right at the 1605 and 1602. So they're D1. That could be a dogfight in Division
Yeah.
One there in the state if everybody stays healthy.
I made a visit to their team practice this summer, and so I got my eye on Crescenta Valley because I got to meet the kiddos.
Yeah. Well, and then another D1 school, Trabuco Hills, returned 1531, 1534, 1546 as a freshman. 1602 are the first four. Okay. They have 9 returners under 10 minutes. So there's other guys that can develop, including 2 freshmen. Um, they appear to have the deepest returners in the 32, and another program where coach does a great job.
Mhm.
Coach Clemens has been there for a while
Yep.
and produces great teams. Probably other on the radar is a D3 school, Hart, traditionally a powerhouse in the state. Back when you were here,
Yep.
they were rolling.
Yep.
Um, but they returned 1522, 1524, 1524, 1547 for their first four. Got to find, 4, 5, and 6. Um, they have a freshman that ran 10, 12, so he could develop
Yeah.
in, but they're looking very strong and should be at the top of the heap early on in Division 3 as far as that. So
Great.
those are the top teams I had for
Yeah.
there.
And then we're going to transition because poor old Central section is not really Southern California and it's not really Northern California. It's the Central section. And so what we're going to do is you're going to cover the boys that we should look for, and I'll have Albert from the Northern California talk about the girls. And so now we're going to the Central section that concludes like up on the 101 with San Luis Obispo and San Maria and Templeton and Paso Robles. And then you've got in the valley from basically, I think Merced, isn't Merced, is Merced up in the San Joaquin? It's probably like Madera south to
Yeah.
Bakersfield. And so let's talk about some boys that we should look for, and we'll have Albert talk about the girls.
Okay. Top boy I see coming out is Blake Bay, who's been a name since he was a freshman. He's Division 5 at Fresno Christian, but he ran 1451 at Clovis. Um, and they ran the Summer of Civil, which is part of that is on the state cross country course. It's a 2-mile course. He won that, ran 9:10. Um, in cross country, he was first in the central section of D5, second in the state, second at the Brooks uh, West Regional,
Yeah,
16th at the Nationals. He ran 4:19 and 9:08, more of a cross guy than a track guy, but he was the D4 32 champ. He was second in the Masters meet for the Central section, and he was a state qualifier.
I forgot
And
I saw him in San Diego at the Brooks XE. That's right, he made that team.
yeah, and the cool thing about I mean, to me, the biggest meet now, I mean, Woodridge is great, but a race that's deeper than the state meet is the Clovis Invitational, even though it's divided into 2 days now,
Mhm. Yeah,
and Central section kids show up in that meet all the time,
they do. Their home
and
course,
they
they run
and
well.
they and they know that course better than anybody.
Oh yeah, it's a good place to train. I went to Buchanan's practice one summer, and it seemed like every school in the Central section was doing some kind of workout there on that Saturday morning. It was a
Yeah,
who's who of Central section. Even some college graduates that I remembered from those schools were there. It's a great place to work out early in the morning, Ken, in the summer because it's
yes, yes.
packed.
I was gonna emphasize early in the morning.
Yeah. Who else do we should we look for in the Central section?
Well, Jacob Leith of Clovis North, just a junior, Division 1. He ran 15:13 at Clovis. He was second in the summer sizzle. He was sixth in Division 1 Central section last year, but obviously put in a good summer. He was 10 seconds behind Bay at the summer sizzle, but He was second in front of a lot of pretty good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Another central section guy I look at is more over on the central coast at Napomo, Marcus Napoli of Napomo High School, senior D4, 1540 at state. He was third in Division 4 for central section last year in cross. He ran 4:15, 9:14, and he was a D3 central section champ in the 16 and 32. He usually shows up well early. I announced the Morro Bay Invitational. He usually does very well there. Moving on, Salvador Quezada of Liberty, D1 guy, Liberty of Bakersfield. He ran 15:38 at state, fourth in Division 1 in Central Section, and run 1:58, 418, and 9:25. Uh, and then Dylan Ray of Buchanan, senior D1. He only ran 16:40 at Clovis Invitational, but he was fifth in the summer sizzle and in track. They were the Masters champ in the 4x8. They were 12th in the state, and he ran 1:54, 419. And Ryan Weaver and Marty Simpson do a great job of developing distance
Mm-hmm.
runners when they're not putting on the state meet.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's right there. And then Matilda Torres has been a power
Mm-hmm.
since it opened up. Like another Madera school. Antonio Santiago Jr., D2. He was 15:40 at state, but he was third in the summer sizzle. He was sixth in D2 last year in a track. He was the D2 Central Section sixth in the 16, and he was fourth in the 32, 424, and 924. So those are the top guys. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some because the Central Section, especially once we start getting to Clovis, definitely show up.
Yeah. We'll see some more names, some of the kids that are freshmen to sophomore year, that kind of stuff. Even the incoming freshmen too that are going to be
Yeah.
strong. And who are some teams that are going to be competitive at the state level in the central section?
Well, Buchanan is
Boise's.
always in the mix,
Yep.
and they return the top two. They were first at the summer sizzle, just ahead of Clovis North, I think by 6 points. Um, so they're fit and ready to go in the fall. Clovis, okay, Eloy Quintana does a great job there as a head coach. Uh, Jesus Maldonado returns at 15:58 at Woodward Park. They returned 4 sub 10 minute 32 guys. So Clovis, they were back a little bit fun. I think they were fourth at the summer sizzle, but again, it's early.
Yeah.
Liberty of Liberty of Bakersfield with Zeta 15:38 is at the front end. Um, they return 5 guys that are under 17 minutes there. Um, so should be competitive in Division 1. Redwood of Visalia have a 15:49 returning. They have 4 returners that were sub 10 in the 32. So should be in the mix, the U1 school. Clovis North, they were second in the summer sizzle. We mentioned Leith, um, and they have a couple other guys that should be at the front end of that pack. And then San Luis Obispo doesn't necessarily show up as a powerhouse early on, but they always are there at the end. They have 5 sub 10 minute guys in the 32, and they always find a way to compete. They run well at the Morro Bay Invitational, and they just keep getting better. And something the southern, I mean the central section, which is a little different, is the head coach for the high school program is also the director for the elementary and middle school. So those kids come through a
That's the
program
way to go.
4 years in a row. Unlike ours, the middle school campus is usually on the same block as the high school campus in the Clovis Unified District, especially.
Hmm.
So the undue influence role is a little different in the central section than the southern
Yeah,
section.
I was talking to one of the Buchanan assistants when I went to their practice, and the middle school only feeds in, so they must be massive middle schools. The middle school only feeds into that particular high school. So there's like I would go and like visit a middle school that 90% of the kids came to our school, and then I'd have to decide, do I want to go to this other school, only 20%? Like I'm speaking in front of a cafeteria where other kids are going to other schools.
Uh-huh.
And so there was one school that was like almost a pure feeder. The other ones were like only like a quarter of the kids, or so because that's how they would have me do it in front of, how do you like, you don't know, you just have to go in front of their lunch and just talk in the little lunchroom and
Yeah, and in southern section, unless you're the athletic director explaining all the programs, that's that's not allowed
that's a no-no. Interesting.
until you can't contact kids until May 1st, and you only can contact them if they're enrolled in your school. So the
Tricky
kid
biz.
signs up to come to, say, Channel Islands, then you can send them letters or contact them
Okay.
starting on May 1st. But
That was tough too, because Channel Islands was a high school district and the middle schools were like another school
yeah,
district. It was just a little strange. Not like was Nordoff in the Ojai school district, right? It was all part of the same school district, right?
yeah, we had one middle school. They all came to the high school.
Ah, there you go. That
You
helps.
know, there was seven private schools in
Oh yeah,
this,
that's a problem.
so you know we
Ojai's
didn't
fancy.
we didn't get the whole thing, but Ojai was, I mean, we had a great middle school physical education program, and it was such a supportive running community.
Yeah,
People were just awesome about supporting what was going on.
that's
And
great.
we had gazillion trails. Other than that, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, Ojai is wonderful. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness gracious. Well, Coach,
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time. I sure appreciate it. And you've got this busy schedule, one more week of filming. Are you done being an actor? Are you just advising this week, or do you have to do some more announcing?
I have to introduce the state the milers going to the state finals.
All
And
right. I can't wait. They don't
unless I
see
got fired after last week. I don't know. But
they don't see you, they just hear your voice.
I don't know. They had the camera right
Oh
there.
boy, you might get a SAG card. You might be a union worker for the film industry. Okay. All right. I can't wait for this movie. I hope you're physically in the movie, not just your voice. I hope you don't get like an email saying, sorry, Ken, we cut everything about. I can't imagine they need announcers in that. So, all right. It's on Apple. Nike's involved too.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to that when it comes out in 2027 sometime. We'll look
Okay.
forward in 2026 to see the athletes that you've mentioned. And we do look forward to kids that are freshmen and improving sophomores that we didn't mention, and maybe kids that moved from another state and moved in the area. Either way, it's going to be awesome. Coach, I will see you in the fall, and we'll connect and keep doing this in the fall. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. Way too much fun, and always get excited for the start of a new cross country season. That's
Absolutely.
way too much fun.
All
So,
right, Coach. We'll talk to you
all
soon.
right. All right. Bye.
Well, we want to thank Coach Ken Reeves for giving us some athletes and teams to look for this fall. And if we missed your team, if we missed you as an athlete, or you have a friend or a relative that you think, hey, I think they should have been talked about, we will definitely be doing that through the season as those athletes will impress us as we go along, and we will cover everybody that has great seasons this fall in Southern California. Next week, we'll be going over Northern California. Remember, the central section is being split between Ken this week and next week with Coach Albert Kawana. And then we'll finish up our previews with Washington. Last week was Oregon. So if you want to go to our already published YouTube episode, you can go to last week and check out the Oregon preview. Because Oregon, Northern California, Southern California, and then our friends way at the top at Washington are on the West Coast. And the West Coast is the best coast. And we'll see you next week.